Awesome. All right, welcome everyone. I'm so glad you're here. And where we're going to be picking up today is on page 58. And we're diving into the chapter 5, how it works. And I don't know about you guys, but man, this is an exciting part of the book. You might not feel like this is an exciting part of the book. You might be like, girl, we have read this at every meeting that I've ever been to for like ever. It's if you're a little like me, this part of the book, maybe it's a little like Peanuts, like Charlie Brown. When yeah, you guys know when the teachers get going and they pull out the trombone. Like I'm not listening. I don't hear it. You know what I mean? And so what we're going to do is we're going to dive into this reading that is so familiar to us and seek and have a new experience. But before we do, one of the things I want to point out is how it works. Have you guys ever been to a meeting where somebody, and God bless you if you're the one that shared this, like no worries, but it's like, we don't know how it works. We don't, but it's somehow it works and we don't know how. And I don't say it out loud. Those are inner thoughts, but I'm like, we have a chapter that tells us how it works. It's mysteriously hidden in the chapter how it works. But this is the information on how these 12 steps work. But also, what I always want to emphasize is that it works. Not necessarily the how, but that it works. These 12 steps is a way of life as outlined in this book. It works. This works. And that is an important takeaway. And so, as we dive in, let's see if we can have a new experience. So it says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear that, yeah, like some of us are like, woo, yeah, that's good news. Most of us are like, oh, I'm going to fail. Like I see the word fail and I'm like, that's me. That's me. I'm going to mess this thing up. And what I want to do as we go through, especially this first paragraph in the chapter, how it works. So often, I don't know about you, but I know I approached it thinking, I'm little miss, not miss congeniality. I'm little miss constitutionally incapable. Like I'm little miss, this thing couldn't work for me. And I'm looking and I'm seeing it and I'm reading the first paragraph as of how it works is like, oh no, this is not good news. But actually, it's incredibly hopeful. So rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. And if we switch what it says, we glean the meaning. Often have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly mucked about. You know what I'm saying? Often in the rooms have we seen people fail who have thoroughly done whatever. You know what I'm saying? Done whatever. But it would be rare to see a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Now, often we'll hear that Bill Wilson said if he could have changed anything in the book, he would have changed rarely to never. That's not true. He didn't say that. But because he knows us, Billy Dubs, he's my homie. He knows us. He's like, listen, if I say never, I'm going to get a bunch of drunks that are going to do this thing. They're going to be like kick butt 12-step members. They're going to be rocking and rolling. They're going to be making all their amends and get drunk just to spite me. Now, I'm not saying, and I promise you, this is not diagnostic of alcoholism or addiction or whatever illness brings you to this all-inclusive study, but some of us have a little bit of a defiance disorder. You tell me what to do, not you guys, but you tell me what to do, and I'm gonna do the opposite. You know what I'm saying? You tell me I got to, no, thank you. You tell me, oh, no one fails. I'm like, I'll fail just to spite you. So he said rarely and meant rarely. But rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. So what is the path? What is the path in Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, whatever 12-step fellowship, Overeaters Anonymous? What is the path? Well, the path we see on page 59. These 12 steps, that is the path. And we can pause and we can ask ourselves, what is our experience? And I'll tell you what my experience is. My experience is I've seen a lot of people drink again. I've seen a lot of people use again. I've seen a lot of people relapse. But I have never, and I really mean never, I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'm not saying it does not happen, but I have never seen anyone who did this work and continued to do this work as a way of life drink or relapse. I've never seen it. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I've seen a lot of people not do a fourth step and relapse. I've seen a whole lot of people avoid making amends and relapse. In fact, I've even seen people have powerful recoveries. And it's incredible the light that came on in their life, the light that came on in their eyes. Man, I saw them radically and utterly change and transform. And they stopped doing the work. And I watched that light fade. And I watched them go back out. But I have never, ever, ever, ever seen anyone who is doing this work and actively doing this work, all of it, not just some of it, but all of it. I've never seen anyone do that and relapse. And that has been my experience. And it's a reminder. I know we're diving into the third step, but it is a reminder that about my step one. Because in my step one, I come to realize that I have an allergy of the body, and that allergy of the body means that I can never, ever drink or use or engage in whatever addictive behavior brings you to this study. It means I can never, ever do it again. But I have an obsession of the mind, and the obsession of the mind promises that I will do it again. And so when somebody like us who has this illness, we relapse, it is not what happened. I don't got to put on my Sherlock Holmes cap and smoke a little pipe. In my mind, it has bubbles because I'm refined, my little bubbles, and be like, Watson, what happened here? No, I know what happened. The inevitable happened. For an alcoholic to drink again, for an addict to use again, for a compulsive person to engage in that compulsive or addictive behavior again. It is inevitable. It is not what happened. It is what didn't happen. And what did not happen was the spiritual awakening. That is what did not happen. I did not take the course of action to bring about the spiritual awakening, or I stopped taking the action that allowed it to be possible. So it says, those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Now, this is one of my hills. It's not you, not you, not you. And literally, I will die on this hill. I got a couple other hills, and depending on how I do for time, we'll be talking about that. But that's not you. But I read this and I'm like, oh, that's going to be me. But if we flip it, let's flip the sentence to glean the meaning. Those who do recover are people who can and will completely give themselves to this simple program. The only thing that is asked of me to get well is to give myself to these 12 steps as a way of life. That is it. That is it. And welcome to those that just joined us. We're not going quickly, but we're going. Page 58, chapter How It Works. So that is what is asked of me. If I dive in and I give this my best effort, I will get well. Now, bear with me. The 12 steps are alcoholic proof. I know, but they're alcoholic proof. They have to be because they're for alcoholics. That means they're addict proof. That means they're compulsive, whatever brings you to this study proof. So it says, it goes on to say, those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program, usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. And as Rob put in the chat, constitution are like base or basic nature. That's not you. That's not you. If you're here today, you're able to show up on time, or even if you're late, I don't care. Glad you're here. The only meeting you're ever really late to is your first one. You guys know what I'm saying. It took you years to get to that one. You're years late. Some of you decades. No judge, no judge. Just you come when you do. But that is not you. And here is why I know that is not you. If you're able to show up and say, man, I need help and I can't do it on my own. When we talk about at our constitution, that is our base. And what does it look like to be constitutionally incapable of being honest with myself? Because it's not about honesty with other people. Actually, a lot of people get sober and start shoplifting. It's a really weird phenomenon. We'll deal with it in a minute. But it's not about that. It is that gut level honesty that I have this illness and that I am in trouble and I need help. If you're here today, you are not constitutionally incapable. And again, the hill I am dying upon. Fight me. And then Rob will be like, Paige, we've ceased fighting anything or anyone. I can't hear you, Rob. I'm on the hill. You know, and so that those that are constitutionally capable of being honest, it is about that willingness to see that I have this problem. There's only one person, and I have been doing this thing for a long time. I have been, and long time is subjective. I'm coming up on 16 years sober, so I've been doing this for a little while. And subjective. And in my time doing it, there has only ever been one person that I was ever like, that one might be constitutionally incapable. And I'll tell you why. She would not show up for an appointment. And not only that, is she could not admit that she was afraid. She could not admit that she was scared of the process. No, I'm not afraid. And she would have all these reasons of why she could not make it. And I remember the one time, and it was after this that I'm like, she might be constitutionally incapable. She called me, and the reason she had to cancel her appointment, she said, she's like, Paige, I can't make it. I have radiation poisoning. And I was like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You do not have radiation poisoning. And she's like, well, I still can't make it. And by the way, I'm not normally that blunt with people. And so listen, if you're not lying about like turning into the Hulk, you're good. You're good. So I promise you are not constitutionally incapable. So it says they are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. So what I'm going to point out is grasping and developing. This is annoying. That grasping is to get, and that develop is to continue to grow. Oh man, Paige, you're telling me that this whole thing is not a set it and forget it program? Come on. And some of you guys know I'm gonna talk about, like, listen, I came here, I wanted some crockpot sobriety. I wanted to set it and forget it. Thank you. Unfortunately, I learned that this deal was stir fry, and I had to be doing it every day. I had to be working at it. The broccolis were shrinking or something. I'm not really good at cooking. Microwave, that's how I do. But I can't microwave my sobriety. I can't put it on, popcorn setting and just leave it, Some of the fancy people use sensor reheat. That doesn't work. I gotta be active. I gotta be doing it. So they are naturally capable of grasping and developing a manner of living. And annoyingly enough, that too is pointing to the idea that this is a way of life. That this is a way of life. It is not a set it and forget it deal, manner of living, way of life. And it is not that this is something that I do in between the prayers of the meeting. This is what I do outside of the prayers of the meeting. Of course, it's what I do in between. I don't want to show up and be like, a jerk in the rooms. But I also got to show up and not be a jerk at all these other areas of my life. By the way, I can't just do that on my own power. I need the spirit of the universe to flow through me so I don't be a jerk at your baby shower. Like that's what we need. I mean, maybe you're different than me, but like that's the thing. It's like that's how I got to show up to all areas of my life. This is a way of life, and it demands rigorous honesty. But here's the thing. So the only thing that is asked of me in order to recover, in order to get well, is to work these 12 steps as a way of life, like my life depends on it, because it does. That is the only thing that is asked of me. That's it. And if I can do that, I can recover. And it's talking about those who are constitutionally incapable. And the only person that I ever met that I ever thought could possibly, not that it is mine to diagnose, was She-Hulk, apparently. And even then, it says her chances would be. So their chances are less than average. If you guys remember back to the Ford to the second edition, we were given some statistics. And those statistics told us that 50% got sober at once and remained that way. An additional 25% sobered up after some relapses. So what is average? Average is 75% success rating. Below average is less than that. But it is also helpful to remind myself, what is my batting average when I come here? 0. I am rocking 0. I've got a 0% success rate. Otherwise, you're probably doing something else on a Monday night. I don't know what it is because I'm doing this. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being with me. But like, I will tell my sponsees all the time, if you are not sure that you have this illness, listen, you had to ask me for help. I am the last resort of the truly desperate. You know what I mean? So if you're here today, good sign. I got some good news. I got some bad news. You know what I mean? Mixing it up. But yeah, but also, a lot of us think, Paige, no, you don't understand. I must be constitutionally incapable because I continue to relapse, because I can't seem to get this thing. I go out and I go out and I go out. And to that, I would again reiterate, you are not constitutionally incapable. That is not a sign of constitutional incapability. That is a sign of alcoholism or the illness of addiction or whatever brings you to this study. Because this illness is an allergy of the body and the obsession of the mind. And it is the obsession of the mind that takes us back when we are as sober as we are today, back to the first drink, the first drug, the first hit, the first hoot, the first high. I go back to it again and again and again. And it is not that this thing can't work for you. In fact, you're a perfect candidate, because this thing is for those of us who can acknowledge that I am hopeless. Hopeless. Because listen, if I got hope, I don't want to write inventory. I'm good, you know. I got a checking account, you know. I'm good. If that's all I got, and listen, didn't mention whether or not that thing was an overdraft. Let me tell you, just a time or two. So that is it. These 12 steps are alcoholic proof, and if I go through them quickly and thoroughly, I will recover. Those two things have to work together. Because listen, I'm an alcoholic, I'm an addict. I want the path of least resistance. I either want to like skirt by the hard work, or I want to sit in the mud and take forever, because I'm afraid of some of those later steps. But I got to go quickly and I got to go thoroughly. And some of my favorite people to work with are chronic relapsers. They are the easiest to work with. I promise you, if you ever sponsored anyone that's been sober a long time but is miserable, oh, those are the toughy ones, you know? Oh, you give me a chronic relapser any day. Yeah, that's easy peasy lemon squeezy. Not difficult chicken difficult, which is what I would say to my niece when she would say easy peasy lemon squeezy. And because I'd say that, and then I'd say easy breezy chicken breezy. And she would go, Auntie Paige, because I just think, the chickens, they would like the breeze. They don't fly as well as other birds. It gives them a good feeling. Anywho, now we can see why I don't get invited out that much. I have friends, it's fine. Alrighty. So there are those two who suffer from grave, and grave means fatal. We are talking about those fatal, debilitating, emotional and mental disorders. But here's the thing, many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. What is asked of me in terms of honesty? It is self-honesty that I have a problem and I can't do it on my own. Well, we will have to stop shoplifting and make amends for that. But just in this moment, just that and actually, if you're here because you can't stop shoplifting, perfect. 2 for 1, all inclusive. So glad you're with us, right? All that is asked of me is to be able to see that I have a problem and I can't do it on my own. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. And that's what we're called to do. Now, I'm gonna be a little pedantic, but I at no point do I ever correct anyone about this. If I do well for time, which I'm already not doing amazing, we will talk about where I am for realsies pedantic. Ooh, and another one of those hills that I die on. This is not one of them. But sometimes when we're asked to share our experience, strength, and hope, we sort of mentally talk about or think about like, okay, it's what it was like, what happened and what it is like now. But we're not talking about the it. We're talking about what I used to be like, what happened and what I am like now. And so what did I used to be like? And you can share your experience, strength, and hope however you would like to. In fact, lately I've been doing, actually not lately, it's been a while. I've been doing big book bounce arounds where I just channel my ADHD that I don't have. It's weird that you think I do. But that's how I share my experience, strength, and hope. But when I talk about what I was like, I'm talking about how I relate to the illness. I'm talking about my experience with the allergy, my experience with the obsession of the mind. And of course, it can be helpful to talk about my experience with the spiritual malady, what it was like when I was sober and restless, irritable, discontent, not diagnostic of this illness. But man, if you're trying to help somebody that's been sober a while, that stopped doing the work and is miserable, that's what I want to lead with. I want to lead with the spiritual malady because that's how I might be able to help them because they're going to relate to that far more than the allergy and the obsession at that stage of their life. So, and then what happened? Well, what happened is not me coming into the rooms. What happened is the 12 steps to produce the spiritual awakening. So the 12 steps in the spiritual awakening. And then what I am like now. Hopefully getting current about what is my current experience as somebody who is living this 12-step way of life. Hopefully I'm experiencing that fourth dimension. Hopefully I'm able to share that message of hope. That's what I am called to disclose. And so it says, if you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. So this is a question, and it's a twofold question. First, I get to ask myself, have I decided this? Do you want what we have? Well, I gotta figure out what do you got? What do you got? I'm imagining you remember they'd have the cartoons of the guys in the trench coat selling watches? Like, what do you got? Show me your wares, So what do you guys have? And what is on offer in whatever 12-step fellowship you are part of is permanent, contented sobriety. That is what is on offer. Do I want that? Do I want that permanent, contented sobriety? And I'll be honest, it is okay if you're like, no, I do not. No, thank you. No, thank you. And then, so if I decide that I do, I get to ask myself, am I willing to go to any length to get it? Am I willing to do whatever it takes? And that is at the heart of step 3. The third step is going to be a decision to work these 12 steps as a way of life, like my life depends on it because it does. Am I willing to make that decision? And at no point is anyone going to break your kneecaps if you're like, no, thank you. Well, actually, the illness that's bringing you to this study is probably going to break your kneecaps. Maybe not literally, but you might get some spiritual shots to the kneecaps, But am I there? And if I have been thorough in step 1, what I see, man, that inevitability of the relapse. And if I have an understanding of step two, which is not a full formed, I've had a spiritual awakening, but just that there's a solution and I don't have it. It helps me to grow in my willingness to be like, you know what? I'll do whatever it takes. And I always want to point out what willingness looks like, because we think that willingness looks like, oh boy, I can't wait to do that fourth step. To sharing that with God and another human being, sharing my deepest, darkest secrets? I would love to. That sounds delightful. Amends to my ex? Mm-hmm. Great. Working with others? Why, yes, alcoholics, addicts, they're known for being so kind, patient, reasonable, punctual. Of course, I would love to. And God? Yeah, I've got no issues with that word, prayer and meditation. I got no baggage. I'm here for all of it. Yes, please. Like, we think that's what willingness looks like. Nope. Nope. You know what willingness looks like? Willingness looks like I'm terrified. Willingness looks like I don't want to. Willingness looks like, man, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Willingness looks like all of that resistance inside of me and doing it anyway. Doing it anyway. That is willingness. And yeah, I can't see all of the joke, but I have a feeling the joke that's in the chat. I have a feeling where that one's going. I have a feeling the punchline on that. So do I want what we have? And am I willing to go to any length to get it? And if so, then I am ready to take certain steps. Now, what are the certain steps? They are the 12 steps as is going to be directed in the rest of how it works, in the rest of into action, and the rest of working with others and carrying that on into the later chapters. Am I willing to do that? It says at some of these, we balked. Now, balking is a baseball term, and as I always like to say, go sports. So in baseball, if a pitcher, and I'm getting really into the body language, it's like, ooh, if the pitcher goes to make any motion to throw the ball, but suddenly stops and doesn't throw it, uh-oh, that's considered a balk, and the batter gets to walk to first base. I know, edge of your seat. You can kind of tell when I have people that are like, yeah, sports, and are a little less like, oh, she's talking about sports and we've lost her, you know. But the other visual that I have in my mind is if you've ever seen like a horse that's doing jumps and going over jumps, like steeplechase or other forms of equestrian. And that horse that goes at full gallop and it is running towards it, and at the very last minute it puts out its hooves and is like, nope. That is a balk. To start to do something and stop. At some of these, we balked. We did. Like, we're human. And this is one of those things that I love, is oftentimes I think we expect that the book is expecting perfection. It's not. This book meets us where we're at. It meets us in the resistance. It meets us in the I don't want to do it. It meets me in my delusion. It meets me in my denial, and it gives me directions on how to move forward. And one of the things I will point out is this is how this paragraph is often read at a meeting. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness of our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. And then people in the back are getting their coffees, and like the smokers are, the smokers are coming in because they just wanted to have a couple last puffs before the meeting started. No judgment. You get it in you, you know. But that's how we expect this. That's how we're used to this being read. But just the language that is being used indicates a slightly different tone. So it says, we thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go. Absolutely. And we're seeing that tone. Like this is not like, oh, I thought we could find it. No, like we tried to find an easier, softer way. I mean, let's be real. 12-step fellowship, that is the last place any of us ever go. We're not looking in the telephone book. I know I've dated me a little. We're not looking in the Google. We're not looking on the Google. Oh, the Google. I said the Google. Oh gosh, I sound quite old. We're not going through the telephone book or in the Google and looking up all the ones that go with A as a first resort. No, it's a last resort. Typically, I have tried everything else that I can think of before I march myself in, and by march myself, I mean drag myself, crawling into the rooms of 12 step. And then, what is the last thing that we try in 12 step? The 12 steps. That's the last thing we try. I got to try to do everything I can before I give that a go. You know, it's like that is our experience, and that combined experience of if you have alcoholism, if you have the illness that is defined in this book, whatever its manifestation is, you're like us, you have tried everything, and there is no other answer that we have found, and we are going to beg you, be fearless, be thorough from the very start. Fearless, thorough, dive in, go hard, have this experience. And it says some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil. Nil. Do you know what the result is? What nil means? Rob's going to put in the actual definition in the chat, which is 0. Yeah, he's got it. But I'll tell you what it means. It means I drink again. It means I get high again. It means I'm smoking crack again. It means if relationships, I'm calling my ex again. Do you know what I mean? I am doing it again. The result is another relapse until I let go of these old ideas. And those old ideas could be, this thing can't work for me. I'm different. I don't need to, you know what I mean? Those old ideas about whether or not I need to do this process. And I need to let go, absolutely. That is a complete letting go. And here's the kicker. If you've ever been in the rooms for a while, I'm sure you've had some old timer, probably unsolicited, and maybe just after you shared, so you copped the resentment, say, you know what you got to do, kid? You got to let go, let God. And then here's my experience. I say, yep, that sounds like a great idea, because I don't want further communication, because we've already put me in a bit of a pickle, because here's the thing. I don't know how. I don't know how. Anyone here just intuits letting go, letting God? You know what I mean? That's not intuitive, especially at the third step. How do I let go, let God? By the way, if you want to baffle that old timer, just go, how? How do I do that? Baffled. But here is how. How I let go, let God is the actions of the 12 steps. The actions of the 12 steps are what allows me to let go. And let go means let go of control, let go of the delusion of control, let go of the outcome, and let God flow through me. That is how I let go, let God. And it's like, how do you let go, let God? Inventory. Sharing that with another human being. Quiet hours, 6 and 7, going and making amends, going then helping other people. That is how I let go, let God. Prayer and meditation. So I've got to let go. And if I'm struggling to let go of my old ideas, well, we can take an inventory of them. Again, this program meets us with grace and understanding and does not have these unreasonable expectations of me to be perfect. And it says, remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Now, there's a group, it's called YPAW. It's Young People of AA. It is for the young and young at heart. There was a YPAW convention. It was called Wacky Paw that happened in Edmonton back in 2017. And the treasurer for the convention was in her 70s. So it's really not an age, everyone's welcome. But in YPAW, they have this sort of culture, which is how it works is being read, they have call outs. So people will yell call outs as how it works is being read. So people will read, remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful, and then people will yell, and expensive. Because, and I'm going to point out some of these call outs as we go through this reading. And part of why I'm going to do that is because it kind of shakes up our ideas of this commonly read, but often sort of glossed over reading. So remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. Those two sentences are a step one idea. That I'm dealing with alcohol, or whatever brings you here, which is cutting, baffling, powerful, and it is too much for me. That is step one. Now it says, but there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Now that idea that there is a power, that there is a solution, that is a step two idea. And if I make the decision to find him now, we're pointing to the third step. The may you find him now is like, hopefully. Now, one of the other things is at my home group, we read the original manuscript version of How It Works. So this was the version of How It Works before it was published in the first edition. There were some edits. And I think the edits were probably a good decision because it's really direct. But that's part of why we read it at my home group, because we can get lulled into that. But like when it's like, wait a minute, that's a little harsh, right? And so how it is read at my home group, it is, remember that you are dealing with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for you. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. You must find him now. And so in the original manuscript, it uses more you-based language, pointing to you and more direct. And then if I am not doing well for time, so I probably am not even going to get there today. That's going to be a next week thing, where we will talk about a thing that is in the original manuscript that we don't read it at my home group, because that would be a little too aggressive. And some of you who know the original manuscript, you're like, oh, I know what they admitted. But if you don't, you just keep coming. We'll tell you about it. Created a cliffhanger, which is impressive, because with my inability to focus, I'm not good at creating cliffhangers because I just want to tell you right away. Alrighty. So, half measures availed us nothing. Now that is something, we hear that again and again. You know what I mean? You at a meeting, chit-chatting, sitting on the fourth step, ha, 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 half measures, or somebody forgets to do their commitment, we joke, ha, 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 half measures. But let's talk about half measures. Let's talk about that for a second. Because half measures avail us nothing. Again, it is important to quantify and qualify, what does nothing mean? Half measures avail us nothing. What is the result of nothing? Nothing is that I relapse. So half measures mean that I will drink again. I will use again. I will relapse. Now, half measures means doing some of this, but not all of this. It means doing a fourth step, but not making amends, not doing a fifth step. It means making some of, but not all of my amends. It means praying and meditating, but praying, but not meditating. It means, because that's the one people don't really do. It means not doing my evening review. It means not do, bless you. It means, I know it's the worst when I catch that. When people sneeze, I'm like, bless you. Mid big book study, I have attention problems. But it means not sponsoring others. That is what half measures mean. And we can look at our experience. Now, I was able to get away with a little bit of work for a little bit of a while. But especially if we are chronic relapsers, we know from our experience that doing some of it does not work. In fact, there has never been a person, I've heard a lot of people that have said the 12 steps don't work for me. The 12 steps don't work. And I was like, okay, well, let me ask you some questions about your experience with the 12 steps. And I've never had somebody who had said, I did the steps and I relapsed as well. And been able to answer all these questions like, so how many people were you sponsoring when you relapsed? Usually none. I wasn't sponsoring. So what was your evening review practice like? Oh, I wasn't doing that. Did you meditate on a daily basis? No, but I prayed. They're always like, no, but I prayed. Yeah, what did your prayer life look like? Were you doing 10 steps on a regular basis? Did you make all of your amends? Or did we make a couple to our family and then like, that's good, all done, you know? Did we spend that quiet hour? Did we do that 6 and 7? Did I do a fifth step? Did I write a fourth step? And more often than not, they stopped in and around 4 and 5. So 4 and 5, I mean, that is just the beginning of the real work that happens here. 4 through 9 is the engine that propels me forward in this work. So if I don't do all of this, I will relapse. And it says we stood at the turning point. Now, this is the turning point for my entire life. That is what the third step is. And when I talk about this, I often have I have a bit of a metaphor-based brain where I got little visuals in my mind. But to stand at the turning point, imagine that your illness, whether it is alcoholism or addiction or whatever it is this monster. And it is a monster that has been chasing you in the woods. And you've been running from this thing for a long time. And every single time you pick up that monster, it is the monster that takes that swipe and you take that drink. That monster takes that bite and you take that hit. You take that line, you take that pill, you take that shot. You know what I'm saying? It gets me and it hurts me. And I've been running from it and running from it and running from it. Now, after a certain point, man, I every single time that monster, it gets me. And I can see it, and my lungs are hurting, my legs are burning, and I can see it. It's closing in on me, and everything I try to do, I'm trying to deke and dive between trees and logs, and it's barreling down on me. And by some miracle, I end up in a clearing, and I see the monster that is my illness barreling down, the inevitability of that first drink or that first drug, the inevitability of the relapse that is barreling down. And I'm on the edge of this cliff, the precipice of my life, and I look over that cliff, and what there is a cloud of unknowing. And yes, I borrowed that from an anonymous mystical author from the medieval period. Yeah, I did. I had come up with that. It's a delightful meditation practice. So can't say meditation didn't exist because it was alive back then. Anyway, sorry, attention span. But it is this cloud of unknowing. And you see, I can't see beyond that cloud. But what I can hear is I can hear your voices. Your voices saying, jump, jump, take that leap of faith. We promise it's going to be okay. And let's be real. The third step is a leap of faith. Let's be real. I'm terrified of step 4 because I'm horrified of step 5. There are amends I do not want to make. There's secrets I don't want to share. Man, I'm still got hangups with the word God. You know what I mean? That is where we all are. It is a leap of faith. I don't know what's going to be on the other side, but I trust you. I trust the people who have recovered. I trust the people who have the light that is on in their eyes, the hope that is in their spirits. And I have to make that decision to take that leap of faith. And thank you so much. That's so kind of you to say. And so what does that look like? Well, if we're at the precipice, if we're at the edge of the cliff and I am afraid to take that leap of faith, and that leap of faith looks like I pick up the pen and paper and I write out my inventory. I write on a daily basis. I go hard and I get that thing done quickly and thoroughly. I do that 5th step. I do that quiet hour. I do my 6 and 7. I ask God to take from me that which I see and that which I don't. I go out and I do what I can to set right my wrongs. I continue that process in step 10, and I continue that process in step 11 in my evening review. I pray and I meditate on a daily basis to build and develop this relationship, and I give everything that I find to others. I help others. That is what it is like to take that leap of faith. But if you're here right now and you're like, Paige, I'm still terrified. Well, the next line says, we asked his protection and care with complete abandon. And if you've been coming to this thing a while, you all know I love my sneaky prayers. I love my sneaky promises. I love it. And anytime in this book it says we ask, there is a prayer. Did y'all know that there was a prayer in how it works? I told you. I didn't lie that we weren't going to have a new experience with this thing. There's a prayer in how it works. And you know what? If you want to tell people you found it on your own, I don't even need credit. You don't even be like, I just realized this the other day. Steal it from me. Steal it from me. That's fine. I don't need credit. But there is a prayer. More important than not giving me credit, use that prayer. God, I ask your protection and care with complete abandon. God, higher power, spirit of the universe, I ask your protection and care with complete abandon, because that is what we're doing. We're taking that leap of faith, complete abandon. That's what I'm doing. And that's the thing. It's like whenever I'm afraid to do something, whether it is 12-step related or not, I can use this prayer. I can use this prayer. God, I ask for protection and care with complete abandon. I take that leap of faith and I can let go, let God. And again, that is getting me out of the way and letting this power flow through me. So it says, here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. I'm going to point out, here are the steps we took. The steps, these 12 steps, are all written in past tense, plural. Oh, she's getting into grammar. It's going to get worse. It is going to get worse, you guys. Oh, and I'm not even good at grammar. I'm going to have Rebecca proofread everything that I do because I'm not good at it. But these 12 steps are written past tense, plural, because the 12 steps are reports of actions taken. They are saying, here is what we have done. Here is what we have done. It's not some like intellectual that's like, here's what I read as best practices for you silly little drunks. No, these are the actions that we took, and these are the actions that we will help you take. And it says, which are suggested, and I will point out they are suggested. Again, pointing to at the very beginning where we're saying, listen, it's not diagnostic of the illness, but some of us don't like to be told what to do. It is a suggestion, but I will point out, we don't have alternative suggestions. If you're like, I don't like this, I would like to have, I would like a gluten-free option. These steps are gluten-free. You got your gluten-free option. Is it vegan? Yes, it's vegan. We will accommodate all your dietary restrictions. Yes, but we don't have an alternative. We don't have another answer. And when I speak and there is a solution, I talk about a solution, which is good news. Because if we have one, it is testable, it is verifiable, and I can find out if it works. Spoilers, it does. But if we have as many solutions as there are alcoholics or addicts or compulsive gamblers, overeaters, codependents, I don't know if that works. I don't know if your thing's going to work for me. But this is testable. Like, you can test it. It is verifiable. We can run this as an experiment. Now, I talk a lot, we don't have alternative suggestions, but technically, on the very bottom of page 25, go on to the bitter ends, blotting out the consciousness of our intolerable situation as best we could, or accept spiritual help. This is the spiritual help. It's not an easy alternative to face, but those are the options. That's what we've got. And so here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. Nobody's going to make you do it. Great love and great suffering are our only disciplinarians. We need no others. And my job is great love. Great suffering, that is alcoholism, that is addiction, that is their job. That is not my job. My job is great love. And great love, of course, looks like showing up with love, empathy, compassion, patience, tolerance. But it also looks like being armed with facts about myself. It looks like being a demonstration of these 12 steps so that when you come into the rooms, I don't just welcome you, but I welcome you and I have an answer, a solution for your problems. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And this Big Book study, as well as actually there's a WhatsApp for me that is like my phone number on WhatsApp, but there's also a WhatsApp group. And I have a feeling now that I mentioned it, Rob will put it in the chat if he wants to. Rob, we got you. All right. So, one, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol. That our lives had become unmanageable. Oh, baby, if I don't do well on time, we're going to end on the difference between an M- and an N-. Ooh, sexy. Just, grammar. So you, if you're like me, had no idea that there was a difference between all the horizontal lines that might exist in writing. And I just want to point out, we saw a whole lot of M dashes. This is like the third M dash in 2 pages. Oh, some of you are like, where are the M dashes? Ooh, it's exciting, like, let's find them. I'll leave it as a little word search. They're on 58 though. Oh no, there's one on 59 as well. We got some M dashes all over the place. Okay, so the M dash is larger because it's the length of the letter M, give or take. I mean, not actually, but bear with me. And then the N dash is shorter as in reference to the size of the letter N. It's like, we're losing you. It's like, oh, this is the part in school where like we all start disassociating. Actually, right now in this moment, I am the trumpet, like burr, 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 trumpet, burr, 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 like, but it's like, okay, so what is the difference? So an N dash is used to different ranges, like dates from this date to this date, or to connect words or two ideas, or not two ideas. But the M dash, it is used for emphasis or extra information. It has some other uses, but like that seems to be the most important. So when we admit we are powerless over alcohol, the emphasis is that our lives have become unmanageable, or the additional piece of information is that our lives have become unmanageable. Now, to be powerless over alcohol is not singularly focused on the allergy. That's not great, but that doesn't make me powerless over alcohol. Joking about the food allergies, guess what I got? Food allergies. They might be intolerances. I haven't gone to a doctor. The doctor's opinion is the only opinion I get. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm definitely allergic to peppers and onions. And I haven't conceded to my innermost self, but there might be a thing with garlic. I'm just not willing to look at it yet. So you know my pain. But so what that means is I have this abnormal reaction. Like if I have peppers, it is a burning sensation and then burning nausea. Now, when I have onions, it's just less burning, more nausea. That's my experience. And that does not make me powerless over onions and peppers. Here is the power that I have. No, thank you. I don't want to go to Chipotle. Like that, I have power to not do it. Once I take that bite, I'm in trouble. But if I don't take that first bite, I'm okay. So what really makes me powerless? Of course, it's important to have the allergy, but it is the obsession of the mind. Exactly. That is what makes me powerless. That I have a thought that takes me back again and again and again. And that is what makes me powerless over alcohol. And that's what breeds the unmanageability. Of course, we treat the spiritual malady in Alcoholics Anonymous, but the unmanageability is that I cannot drink, but I cannot stay sober. I need to stay sober. I have to stay sober. I want to stay sober, but I cannot. That is the unmanageability. Let's see how many of these we get through. Also in WIPA, when we read through the steps, as people go to read the number of the steps, people will yell 7. If you guys remember from that episode of Friends when Monica was talking about the erogenous zones and she's like 7. And so it's a bunch of people going 7. And then we all cheer when we get to 7. A lot of fun. So 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So step 2, part 1. Is can I believe that there is a power that is greater than me? That's it. Could there be a power greater than me? You'll get the recording. It'll be on YouTube. Rob will put the deets in the chat. Don't worry, we got you. I like to multitask. I'm so good at multitasking. That's why I do it. Lies. And honestly, I'm just so glad you're all here. All right. So came to believe that a power greater than ourselves. Can there be a power greater than myself? I just admitted alcoholism was one. I'm just going to throw that out there. So could there be another? 2 for 2 on that? And then could restore us to sanity. Is it possible that that power could relieve the obsession of the mind that takes me back again and again to the first drink, drug, hoot, compulsive behavior, whatever brings you to this inclusive study. Is that possible? And that is step 2. And it is an interesting place to leave off because we're talking about step 3. So we're at the hour. We'll stop off at step 3, right in the middle of the steps. You can tell I planned that so well. And I'm always good at landing the plane on time. So what I will do is I will stop the recording and we'll have it so that we can all unmute. So 1 second.